So today I'm excited to talk to you about chapters 1 through 4 of the 4-Hour Work Week. Now, a little bit of a foundation to remember. Throughout the book, the author Tim Ferriss talks about a term called the new rich. Now, it's a term that does not focus on money being what values somebody as rich, but time and mobility. Those who have more time available to them and have more opportunities to be mobile, meaning do what they want, where they want, when they want, then those are the people who are called the new rich. And so the tagline of this book is called "Escape the 9 to 5, Live Anywhere, and Join the New Rich." And so he talks about in the introduction about how most people want to be millionaires, but they say that, but they don't really want to be millionaires. What they want is to be able to do the things that millionaires do. They want to be able to live life like a millionaire. And throughout this book, it talks about the possibilities of how it is realistic that you can live like a millionaire without being a millionaire. And so it talks about that. And throughout the book, it discusses different ways. I'm going to jump right into chapters 1 through 4 today, and talk all about definition, defining your expectations, defining what you really want out of life. And this actually all has pretty perfect connections with your Amazon FBA business. So chapter 1 talks about comparisons to the people who are working toward retirement, toward the people who are the new rich, who aren't really working towards a retirement, but actually have like little mini retirements throughout their lives. Throughout the book, he talks about why are people spending the best years of their life working toward being able to be free to do what they want to do when they're like in their 60s and 70s. I mean, why not try to build up a lifestyle, build up a business to be able to enjoy the things that you want to do now instead of waiting until you're 60 or 70 years old. And so it's like, he calls it, the deferrers, people who are deferring all of that stuff until they're retired at 60 or 70, or the new rich. And he kind of compares them. The ones who defer want to work for themselves. Those who are the new rich want to have others work for them. I mean, I love being my own boss, but I would love to get to a point where I'm not doing any work. I've got people who are in charge of all the work that needs to get done. It says to work, the people who defer and just try to, save up their money to spend during retirement, they want to work when they want to work. But the new rich wants to prevent work for work's sake and only do the minimum necessary for maximum effect. And I like that. A lot of people think that because you're doing work, because you're working hard, then you're doing all the right things. But a lot of times, a lot of the things that we do and spend our time on, they're not bringing us any forward to the goals that we're setting. First off, some people aren't even setting the goals that they need to be setting. And secondly, they're doing a lot of work that isn't even, that while you're able to check something off a list, it's not the best use of their time. And you're just spinning plates spinning the wheels, and you're not really able to go do anything about it. In chapter 2, it talks about the game changers, changing the game, changing the way you define things. The author is not against retirement and preparing for retirement, but he sees retirement as like a worst case scenario. Worst case scenario that I'm not able to do any work, I'm not able to do anything at that time, so I just want to be able to have some money saved up, and that's still important to do, but it's more important to that. He talks about how interest and energy are cyclical, that we are able to be energized with the things that interest us most. And so for the people who are stuck in a job that they hate, they're not getting any energy from that. They're not able to, really do their best and to really grow, because it's really zapping their energy and not feeding their energy. And so that's one thing I love about Amazon FBA. I love about blogging. I love about doing these videos. It helps me with my energy. So think about that with you. Are you energized by doing Amazon FBA? If not, if you think it's just a good way to make a quick buck, then most likely you're going to end up burning out, dying out, and then moving on to something else. But if selling on Amazon does energize you, then that's something to think about. We've got the blog, fulltimefba.com. We like helping people turn part-time hours into a full-time income with Amazon. And there's been people who tell me, I don't want to be a full-time Amazon seller. I don't want to work 40 hours a week selling on Amazon. I like my job, but I also enjoy having Amazon as a nice little side income. That's awesome, and I encourage you to do that. If you love your job, stick with it. If you still love Amazon, there's plenty of ways to turn part-time hours into a full-time income with Amazon. But if you are stuck in a job that you hate, that just drains you, then you need to begin now thinking of an exit strategy for that job where you can transition into something that you're passionate about. And the words in this book and what it teaches you really helps you with that transition. Thing that stood out to me, two more things that stood out to me before I go to the next section. Less is not laziness. Just because you're doing less work does not mean you're lazy. I'm all about maximizing the work that I do. I want the work that I do to meet the goals that I've set, and I want to accomplish things. Just because I'm doing less does not mean I'm lazy. So, with my FBA business, if I'm spending only 10 hours a week doing my FBA business, yeah, I could probably make more money if I spent more hours, but I like the income that we get from our FBA business, and I'm not being lazy. I'm actually filling up that other time with other work. So less does not equal lazy. And then for those of you who are wanting to think about jumping from your job that you don't like, the timing is never right. He said, I once asked my mom how she decided to have her first child, little old me. Her answer was simple. It was something that we've wanted, and we decided there was no point in putting it off. The timing is never right to have a baby, and so it is. The same thing. The timing is never going to be perfect for you to transition from the job that you hate into the job that you love. The timing is never going to be right to start a new business, but you can do things and make good choices to set yourself up with a good foundation, and so that's something to look into. Few more things before we run that I want to be sure. So, it's this little area in chapter 3 about psychology of most people and why they decide what they do really stood out to me. It says this: to do or not to do, to try or not to try. Most people will vote no whether they consider themselves brave or not. Uncertainty and the prospect of failure can be very scary noises in the shadows. Most people will choose unhappiness over uncertainty. For years, I set goals, made resolutions, and to change direction, and nothing came of either. I was just as insecure and scared as the rest of the world. The simple solution came to me accidentally 4 years ago. And he talks about how someone who he worked with or was a mentor of his told him, well, what's the worst case scenario? Really, put it on paper, figure out what your worst case scenario is, and see if that's something that you can recover from, or if it's something that's going to kill you, or if it's something that's going to be the end of the world. I mean, most of the time, when we're seeking to make a big change in our life, a big change in our business, maybe a big change in our Amazon business, we're scared. And most people choose unhappiness over uncertainty. Well, what's the only way to really get certain about something? You go for it. But you want to make sure that you make the wise decisions with what you're going for. So he says, as soon as I cut through the vague uneasiness and ambiguity and ambiguous anxiety by defining my nightmare, my worst case scenario, I wasn't as worried about it anymore. So think about that. When you're nervous about making a big change with your Amazon business, with your life, think about putting the fear of the unknown onto paper. Figure out what your worst case scenario is. Define the upsides, define the downsides, and break it down. And it could really help you. And the last thing I want to talk about is this. Tim Ferriss, the author of the book, makes a comparison of the most people. He says most people, when you ask them what they want, they say, I want to be happy. I want to be happy in life. That's what I want the most. And Tim goes on a little rant in the book saying, most people think they want to be happy. What they really want is excitement. They want a certain type of excitement. He says, excitement is the best synonym for happiness. And it's precisely what you should strive to chase. It's the cure-all. When people suggest you follow your passion or your bliss, I propose that they're in fact referring to the same singular concept, excitement. And this was one of the things in the book that I kind of disagreed with, because, you know, I think excitement, if you're always trying to search for excitement in everything that you're doing, you're gonna have the downtimes, you're gonna have the lulls, you're gonna have the times that aren't as fulfilling or exciting. I honestly think when people are searching for happiness, what they're really searching for is contentment. Being okay with what they have, loving the things that they have, having the things that they love, and being able to be content with that. Not always searching for the next high, not always searching for the next thing that's going to, you know, change their world. A lot of people are searching for meaning in life. They really are. And I really think that a lot of that can be boiled down to contentment. Most people want to have a change in their life because they're not content with their life. And that's one of the things I pray for all the time. I pray that God gives me contentment with my life, with where I am, and it's been able to bring peace in my own life. And so while he's talking about in the book searching for happiness through excitement, I think that that's something that is going to be, you know, it's like something it's just not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be something that completely fulfills you, because it's not always possible to be experience excitement all the time. But when you're able to be content, I think it's a good balance between the awesome, exciting times and the dull, boring times, and that's something that you could really do. And that's something with our Amazon business that is something to consider too. A lot of times we always think that bigger is better. A lot of times we make the assumptions that doing something different is better, that change is going to be better, and it always is that if we just change something, it's obviously going to be better. If there's a new book that comes out, obviously that's going to be better. But a lot of times we're missing out on a bigger picture. We're missing out on maybe mistakes that we've made that we need to kind of go and figure out why those mistakes were made and learn from those. I think a good idea to spend your mental energy and your time on is focusing on one thing until you master it, until you move on to something else. But being content with your life, being content with what you have, really will help you out in the long run. I really enjoyed the first 4 chapters of the 4-Hour Workweek. It's been a challenge to start thinking in new and different ways, and I look forward to the next chapters that we're going to be talking about coming up soon. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching. You know, if you scroll down below, you can like this video, leave a comment, a question, find links from this video. I encourage you to do that. And I also encourage you to go to fulltimefba.com if you're wanting to learn how to turn part-time hours into a full-time income with Amazon FBA. I will see you fulltimefba.com. Thanks.